Welcome everyone to the DELISA webinar for February 20th, 2024. I'm Michael Crossfox. I'm your academic support assistant. I'm joined today by an instructor in our division by the name of Christopher Stewart. He's a senior librarian at a very special school in Washington, D.C. He's also, of course, our adjunct instructor, and he's going to be talking to us about a course that he has designed that's very mission-oriented for St. John's University and also very mission-oriented for the Division of Library and Information Science. And that course is called Library Services for the Unhoused. It's going to be offered in the summer, I believe, Professor Stewart?
Yes,
Yep,
that's right.
summer of 2024. And we're going to talk briefly about the course and meet Professor Stewart so that you all can be as excited about this course as I am. And welcome, Professor Stewart.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, so you've taught for us, you are an adjunct under the youth services specialization. Currently, you are a school librarian,
I am.
and I believe you're teaching, or you've taught recently 121, was it? But whatever it was, but you taught youth services
Hmm.
librarianship here in the
Yes.
division. Uh, Very popular specialization. What I find interesting is that so we used to offer back in the day, right? So picture it, DLIS, circa 2008.
Okay.
We had 20 full-time faculty and specializations that included law librarianship and school library media librarianship. Uh, 2014 rolls around, we don't offer those anymore. And that's because we had a partnership with the School of Ed at St. John's
Okay.
um, that allowed us to facilitate the school library media specialization or certification, and we don't have that anymore. However, youth services is strong. Our two biggest specializations in DLIS right now are youth services
Hmm.
and academic librarianship.
Hmm.
So you're teaching in youth services, and you brought to us this course, Library Services for the Unhoused. What is your experience as a school librarian with the unhoused?
Yeah. Again, thank you so much for having me. In the field of librarianship and more specifically school librarianship, we have several students who are at um, all different spaces and places in life. I serve a Title I school. And in that Title I school, roughly 100% of my students receive free or reduced lunch. And on any given week, I have between 70 and 100 students who are experiencing houselessness. That also includes couch surfing, which means that they don't necessarily have a permanent place of residence, but they may be one house or one place, one couch on Wednesday and another couch on Friday or for the weekend. Um, so in in the district, we have uh, so many cities, including New York and LA, Chicago, a tale of two cities. And so my experience has been making sure that I create an environment that's filled with resources but also a space that resembles a living room more than it does an academic high school library. It has all those attributes, but it's really a living room experience more so because I want to ensure that um, students who don't have that living room that they have it here. Um, just making sure that my students have the resources that they need, but also feel the comfort and empathy to know that they can make it another day.
That's really commendable. There's so much to be said about. I grew up in New York City, and I attended what are called considered alternative schools, elementary and high school, and having that being in a classroom and having a little couch um, enhanced my learning experience. I can't even begin to calculate how much it enhanced my learning experience because there's a moment where I could meet with my classmates on that couch and have a conversation. But also my teacher could pull me onto that couch and sit down next to me and have a more formal, structured conversation about my
Mhm.
academic progress or my
Yeah.
status in the class. And yeah, that idea of a living room, um, just in the phrase, there's so much life that happens in the living room. There's so much living
Yes.
that goes on,
Yes.
that even if it's not uh, academic, if it's not, it doesn't have to be scholarly. It could just
Right.
be a moment of humanity that takes
Right.
place in those
So,
spaces. Um, and space is important. It's something that we take for granted, and it's something that obviously uh, the unhoused have been deprived,
yeah.
having their own
Mhm.
space, having a space for privacy, having uh, just it just baffles my mind. Like I've spent the last 10 years at St. John's working with the unhoused directly, and um, I hug them,
Yes. Yeah.
you know,
Absolutely. Yeah.
um, make eye contact with people
Yes.
and say, even if it's I don't have any cash on me, look them in the eye and say, yeah, I don't have any cash on me. I am on my way to a doctor's appointment. I'm on my way to meet friends. I'm so sorry I can't help you. I'm going to pray for you. What's your
Mhm.
name?
Yeah.
And I hug them.
That's right.
And I've had grown men
Mm-hmm.
cry
Mm-hmm.
just at that gesture. That,
Yeah.
not only am I seeing you, I'm acknowledging you physically and I'm embracing you because I don't have cash. The money would help. I have a 3-minute routine
Mhm.
where I can, if the person is outside of my apartment building, I can run upstairs, make them a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, grab any article of clothing that they might need, a pair of
Yeah.
socks,
Yeah.
uh, t-shirt, whatever. Just grab
Yeah.
something. I fill a little shopping bag,
Yeah.
put a bottle of water in it, and then run it back down to them. And my husband marvels at this, and
Mm-hmm.
he
Mm-hmm.
he checks. he he hates that I give his clothes away too, but um, he keeps me in peanut butter, jelly, bread, and water. Like when he
Yes.
goes grocery shopping, he gets those supplies. I use a food scoop, one of those like spring-loaded scoops
Mm-hmm.
for the peanut butter and the jelly, and that lets me put 2 tablespoons of peanut butter, 2 tablespoons of jelly
Mm-hmm.
on the
Yeah.
bread, smear it with a spoon, wrap
Mm-hmm.
it up, and then I take it down. And sometimes they'll get a roll of toilet paper, sometimes they'll
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
uh, you know, and it's just me that the compulsion that I feel to help people who are in
Yes.
need because that's part of our experience.
Yes.
And when it comes to libraries, the reality is I was a bit of a cynic when I came into librarianship. The reality is that public libraries are buildings with roofs, running water, and toilets. And
Safe
so,
spaces.
and they're safe spaces.
Yeah.
And so we are going to get unhoused patrons who
Absolutely.
just need to sit down.
Yeah. Yes.
They just need to sit and be quiet, get away from the noise, get away from the wind. Life
Yeah.
on the streets is rough.
Mhm.
Rough. In Europe, they
Yeah.
call it sleeping rough when
Mhm.
you don't have a tent or you don't have any kind of shelter and you're just curled up in fetal position uh, up against some wall because
Yeah.
that'll shield you from the wind. So here in the States, obviously, we know, we see it in urban spaces, we may not see it in suburban or rural spaces as much. Um, Unhoused people tend to not gravitate toward, but they tend to end up in cities because the dense population also means that there's going to be more services. There's going to be more opportunities for sheltering, there's going to be more opportunities for rehabilitation, and there's also going to be more opportunities for panhandling and for other things that uh, they have to engage in to stay alive.
That's right.
Um, More opportunities for even healthcare. There's more emergency rooms in cities than
Yeah,
there are in rural counties. Um, so when we find unhoused patrons in our libraries, uh, and they are still patrons, because I've had this conversation with librarians who say, well, I wouldn't call an unhoused person a patron because they're not paying taxes on property that fund the library. And they did. They did. You know, it's this all of this social welfare idea that people are getting something for nothing. I've been paying into social welfare services since I started working at the age of
yeah,
16.
yep,
We all have.
that's right.
By the grace of God, we don't have to engage in them.
Right,
We don't have
right.
to pull those monies out. So
Yeah,
while I'm still able bodied and still
mhm,
contributing to the social welfare systems here in the United States, I'm happy that someone is accessing those funds. I'm happy that they can do that. And I would rather they do it unconditionally without having to justify their need. I wish that there was just, I wish your social security card was an ATM card and you could just go into any machine and get the funds you need to
yeah.
take care of yourself. But when they do come in, when our unhoused neighbors come into our library, what kind of services are they looking for and how can we start to address their needs?
Yeah, that's a really great question, and let me just go back to this idea you mentioning that for your unhoused neighbors and those that you experience, that you give them a hug. That hug is so important for those who desire it, and because can you imagine going throughout your day, throughout your week, possibly even a month without any physical touch? No one really smiling at you, no one really engaging in deep conversation with you, not even necessarily saying hi. That takes a toll on one's psyche and one's heart condition. And so that is huge, and I'm sure that's why the gentleman, cried because it does change the game. But it also says to them that I see the humanity, as you mentioned. I see the humanity in you, and there is no difference between us. Um, I think a lot of times the resources that individuals who come into the library who are experiencing um, uh, a lack of housing or poverty. They desire the two most popular are being able to get access to their social security card and their driver's license or an ID, birth certificate. Those documents are so crucial. And a lot of times when you are living on the streets or in and out of housing, you lose your documents or they are destroyed in some way. Um, and so, like if you're staying in a tent city and they clear that tent city out and that's all you have, you don't have storage for some of them. They don't have storage somewhere. So that wipes out everything that they had, which may have been a driver's license or a birth certificate or social security card. Another thing is housing, resources for housing, whether it be housing for LGBTQIA plus. We have seen that on the rise in recent decades, um, because especially with teens and young people being kicked out of the house. But also this idea of making sure that they have access to legal help that's free, because they may have been evicted illegally. Uh, and so it's a lot of different aspects, but those really are the main ones that um, that they desire, these resources that a librarian or library professional can assist them with, and also books. They, individuals who are experiencing houselessness, you know, popular belief would be that most of them dropped out of high school in ninth or 10th grade, and that they are not only not educated, but they have never worked. They don't desire to work. They are drug addicts. Most of that is not true at all. That's not the majority.
Yeah, this
Bachelor's
is
degree, associate
right.
degrees, yeah, yeah, and you know, that's why it's so important, as we know, to never judge a book by its cover, but to always to read the book and appreciate each chapter.
Yeah, it's important to remove yourself from the equation. I gave a talk once with the Vincentian mission at St. John's, uh, and I said, the first time we go out and we perform service to the unhoused or people in crisis, it's direct service. I'm sitting across from the person and handing them a sandwich or handing them a clean pair of socks or whatever I'm doing. Um, the first time we do that, it's what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? And then we go back and we reflect on that experience, and it's, oh, that's a whole lot of ego. Like I'm
Mhm,
bringing
mhm,
myself to this, and I don't have to be there. I'm just a servitor. I don't have to be present. I have to be present, but I don't have to be so egotistical about it.
mhm, mhm.
So then we correct, and we go back the second time and we say, what do you need? What do you
Yes.
need? What do you need? And that kind of calls upon the person in crisis to justify your service. Like
Mhm,
you're
mhm.
asking them their backstory, you're asking them to relive a traumatic event like getting evicted or losing their
Yes.
job or having the apartment catches fire. Because I'm going to circle back to this. Uh, no one chooses homelessness.
Mhm,
Um, and then the next time we reflect and we look at the writings of St. Vincent de Paul, who's the patron saint of St. John's University, and we're in the Vincentian charism, and he says, what must be done? And that is service perfected.
mhm,
Because
mhm,
by asking what must be done, now me and the person in crisis
mhm,
can
mhm.
identify the problem and work together to remediate the situation,
That's right. Yeah.
provide immediate relief, find a long-term solution, whatever. But what must be
Yes.
done is this. What must be done is this person must be food. This person must be
Mhm.
given clothing. This person must be
Right.
given shelter. That's what must be done. So I'm not in the equation.
Right.
I'm not asking them to justify their need.
Right.
We are working together
Right.
to solve the problem.
That's right.
And I said earlier, no one chooses homelessness. I'm going to correct that by saying the only people that choose homelessness are landlords, are
Mm.
capitalist people who evict
Yeah.
the single mother, who
Yeah.
evict the former Marine who has PTSD and
Mhm.
just can't handle a 9 to 5 job. Like those are the people choosing homelessness, are the people who pursue eviction.
Mhm.
And that's a big problem in this country because we have for the last 30 years, maybe 40 years, have seen late night infomercials where millionaires are telling you to buy real estate and rent it
Mm.
as a what's it called? Not lazy income, but passive
Passive.
income,
Mhm. Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And so rich dad, poor dad, like go out and buy an apartment and then rent it out
Right.
for $100 more than the mortgage payment. And if your tenant
Mhm.
cannot make that payment, evict them.
Right. Right.
There's lots of vacant real estate across the country. And then we're hearing from the landlord, the landowning class, oh, well, no one wants to rent. No one, and we hear from the capitalists, no one wants to work. Like
Mhm,
these,
mhm. I
it's,
know, I
it's
know,
not
I
true.
know. I think that, what I always say is that as someone who owns property and I love real estate, I always, say that you can be an ethical um, individual that's involved in real estate. Since 2018, I have been providing a home to single moms who um, experienced being unhoused or poverty in some way as far as loss of income. And you know, Actually, in each situation, it did not cover the mortgage, and that was okay because if you can sacrifice in that way, in that financial way, understanding that we are one, and it takes a very wide thinking way to look at that as if, it could easily be one of us. And so when you understand that as humans, we are so connected, and seeing again, going back to that humanity in another, understanding that that is your brother, that is your sister, um, then it changes the game as far as real estate and also just providing services. Um, they wanted to make sure that their children had um, robust literary opportunities, and there wasn't necessarily a library in walking distance safely. So I put a little free library right out front. The community flocked to this library. I was able to fill it, I think, every with new books and refresh it every 2 to 3 weeks.
Mm.
So it's things like that that changes a community, um, as opposed to them staying in a shelter environment where everyone is in the same situation as them for the most part. But now you're in a community where you're not, on top of each other, but also you can be down the street from someone who is a minister, maybe someone who's a teacher, maybe someone who's a doctor, maybe someone who's a stay-at-home mom or dad, maybe someone who's experiencing joblessness at this time. It being in that type of community, you learn from each other and you grow. Um, and you mentioned something so powerful as far as this idea of asking what people need. Um, I lived for a very short period in time in Ethiopia, and I volunteered at an orphanage there, which was incredible. Now, I came with all these books, boxes of books and clothes, and I did not ask them what they needed at all. And this was years ago, and I got there, and the clothes were two sizes too big. Um, the books were great because I had it in Amharic and also in English. But the clothes, they just were too big because I'm looking at it from American perspective. I'm 6'5", so I'm thinking, they're going to be, the average height and size of an American child, and it just varied. They were slightly smaller, and so it's things like that. But also, I walked away thinking that I was going there to serve them, and I did do that, but they ended up serving me too. And I ended up learning more from them than they did from me. And so uh, and it also reminds me of me volunteering at a soup kitchen. And at that soup kitchen, the volunteers, you feel good about making sure that you're handing the food to those who are in need of it. And then it reversed. And those who were eating, they cleaned up. So they came by and they cleaned up and took your plate. And, it is that's equity. That is beautifulness exemplified in the way that I serve you, you serve me. So it doesn't feel like it's one-sided. Because you can feel bad about yourself, like you're just, I'm a charity case. No, there are no charity cases here. We're serving each other. That's family. Yeah.
It's fellowship, and
It's
that's a big
fellowship.
part
Right.
of this idea of when we provide services. Yes, we are operating in our professional capacity. We are paid
Yeah.
to be here. But when we hand the third grader the book about dinosaurs that they are looking for, or we hand them the book about
Yeah.
Greco-Roman myths that
Mhm.
they heard about. It's the same thing as handing someone the form needed to get their driver's license,
Yeah.
right? To replace their drivers, to replace that piece of identification, to replace that critical data, if it's our job to retrieve
Yes.
uh, those things and access serve as a point of access. And
Yeah.
there's been a lot of talk about over the last decade about the role of like how the MLS, the Masters of Library Science, and the MSW, the Masters in Social Work, have kind of
Mhm.
blended together,
Mhm.
and that
Mhm.
librarians are being tasked with more social worker type uh, responsibilities. Um,
Yeah.
at the higher levels, like I've seen this conversation at ALA, at the American Library
Mhm.
Association annual conference, then distilled down to uh, NYLA, the New York Library Association annual conference, and then at the SCLA or NCLA, the Nassau and Suffolk County Library
Mhm.
Association conference. That big overarching national debate is the only debate.
Mhm.
When you get down to the librarians on the ground, Urban Librarians Unite, other associations that are focused on regional, Metropolitan Library Council in New York City, um, there's no debate. The librarians are
Yeah.
saying, yeah, if I can pull up your tax forms
Mhm. Mhm.
every March and April,
Yeah.
I can pull up the SNAP form. And a
Absolutely.
lot of public librarians have taken it upon themselves to become certified as SNAP counselors.
Yeah.
SNAP is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program.
That's right.
Uh, it's a federal welfare program that provides funds for food. It used to be
Yes.
called food stamps.
That's
Now
right.
it's SNAP, and it's all done via debit card. Uh, but public librarians are becoming certified as counselors for that. And what you're doing is the certification process means that you're just accepting the application materials,
Yeah.
verifying that the application is complete, and helping the patron submit the application online.
Yeah.
You're not administering the actual benefits. You're not engaging with any, you're just taking the documentation that they provide you and using it to fill out the online form and
Yeah.
saying, I'm the person that helped do this.
Right.
Like if you get your taxes done by a professional, they sign at the end a little affidavit that says they're the tax preparer. You're the
Mhm.
SNAP
Mhm.
application preparer. That application is still going to be assessed by the feds, who are going to
Yeah.
judge whether the info is valid or not. You don't face any penalty
Right.
in helping. So the idea of librarian as social worker, it's crazy to me that at at some level it
Mhm.
becomes a debate when on the ground every librarian I've met has said the only ones that have objected was when that I've seen
Yeah.
um naloxone, the the
Sure. Yeah.
opioid overdose intervention medication. When that was being pushed into public libraries, people were like, I don't feel comfortable
Mhm.
administering
Mhm.
medication. And then they realized that
Mhm.
it's a
Mhm.
spray
Right.
that goes up the nose. And so you're not drawing blood, you're not injecting anyone,
Right.
you're just giving them this nasal spray. And that assuaged a lot of people who said, okay, well, I'm fine with that, or I'm fine with
Mhm.
handing that to the person who's willing to do to administer the medication. Um, but we have to get out of this space where um, I'm a librarian. I'm in the business of trafficking used books.
Mhm. Mhm. Right. Right.
We're not that.
Right.
We're
Right.
not that. We haven't been that for 50 years.
Mhm. Mhm.
We are in the business of trafficking information. We are in the business of meeting needs.
Right. That's right.
And I have right now, I haven't been on campus and Queens campus for 2 years,
Mhm.
but I had a stockpile of cup noodle,
Mm,
and I had it's when I started at St. John's and I had student workers, I would keep a
yeah,
stockpile of cup noodle in the office
yeah,
and let every student worker know if you need a snack, go here. It just needs hot water. We had a hot water, the water cooler also had a
yeah.
hot function.
That's right.
Just take this, go there, and I
Yeah,
would monitor it. And whenever it got low, I would restock it.
right.
And that's the kind of thing that, these things are sold. You go to a drugstore and they always have ramen or cup noodle
Hmm. Hmm.
for 28 cents.
Right. Right.
Get it and keep it and
Mm.
make it accessible to your patrons. That's something
Yeah.
that it makes a difference.
Yes, it does. It makes a huge difference. I when I was with so I served the public library for over a decade before becoming a school librarian, and I would always keep little snacks, and then I thought to myself, wow, let me create some type of programming. So I created books on what did I call it? Brunch on the streets. So um, I set up a table, and it had books that these were the donated books, and it was right on the corner of the front of the public library I served at. Um, and it would have I would do it around 9:40. We would open, I want to say, at 10. Um, and I would have it on the corner, and um, books that were donated books that they could get, but also food. I would go to Giant and get, little muffins, and always packaged food, except for the fruit, bananas and apples and mandarins. And literally by 10:15, everything was gone. But they so appreciated on those days, and I did it once a week, and I want to say it was a Wednesday. On those days, and these weren't necessarily individuals who were experiencing hunger or poverty, rather, or houselessness, but they were hungry, and there were no there was no infighting within the library space, the community. Everyone was happy and joyful and excited. Um, some people will never ask for food. Some people will never come and say that they need some type of assistance or help. But when you offer it with a smile, uh, that just warms them. And to know that it's even being offered in the library, the high school library where I serve, I offer a pantry, food pantry, as well as a clothing closet. So this is for individuals who need it. And this is can be. I've had adult teachers that have come by. Yeah,
Can we talk about
yeah,
food insecurity in higher ed?
yeah. Oh,
I mean, I was confronted with this, the origins of this. Um, when I first started at St. John's, I was working the night shift in the library. I was supervising the library from 3 to 11.
mm-hmm.
And I had just started and I was figuring out like my lunch break, which was really a dinner break. I was taking a break around 6:30. Um, and I didn't have any food. It was snowing and crazy, and I didn't want to leave campus, so I went to the dining hall.
Okay,
They charged me $15 just to walk in because I didn't have a meal plan. Obviously, I'm not a residential student.
right.
And it was buffet style.
Mm.
And I sat down, I ate 5 plates of food because I had to justify
Spending 50.
spending $15. Ate myself sick.
Oh
And then I
no.
was alone and I spread the plates out so
Mhm.
that it looked like my friends had just left.
Right, right.
So I was crazy. Um, but that notion of, and if I was on a meal plan and my
Yeah,
parents had paid in advance, they would have paid that $15
yeah.
per dinner.
Mm.
Um, I could just go 7-Eleven and spend $5 on
Yeah.
the same, 1,000 calories of food. The poverty diet is real. We know
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
Um, but the idea, and we do have at St. John's, I'm happy to say that the mission and the Office of Mission and the Office of Student Affairs, they do have an endowed fund uh, that's paid by alumni contributions,
Oh, I love
where
that.
if you are food insecure, you can go there and
I
they
love
give
that.
you a gift card for the supermarket and you can go and get groceries.
Yeah.
Um, so that's something that even our online students have access to. I've cleared it with the head of mission, um, because we have had in the past, it was a couple of years ago, the wildfires were happening on the West Coast, and we had a student who was in the Seattle area, or maybe an hour or two outside of Seattle in Washington State, and they were being
Mhm.
evacuated. And we tell our students, because we're online, if there's any foreseeable disruption to your participation in the classes, let us
Yeah.
know. Let
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
instructors know in advance. And so I had been monitoring and saw that this guy was out. I reached out to him. And he said, I'm good. I'm okay." And then a couple days later, he emailed me and said, "Actually, I have to evacuate, and I
Mm.
don't know where to go." I called the bishop of Seattle and
Mm.
said, "I have a student of St. John's University who is being evacuated. Can you get him a place to stay
Yeah.
and supplies?" And I got a call back that said he can come to one of the shelters that the Catholic diocese runs in Seattle. And I said, "Does it have Wi-Fi?" And they said, "No." And I said, "He's an online student. He needs Wi-Fi."
Hmm. Hmm.
They called me back and said, "There's a room in the rectory of this parish church that has Wi-Fi. He can stay as long as he needs. We'll get him clothes, we'll get him
Mm.
food."
Wow.
And the next day, under the evacuation order, I was able to get my student housed
Wow.
at the rectory in Seattle.
Oh, that's a blessing.
And that's because we're here, right? Like we
Yeah.
have to be aware of this stuff. So maybe it's not handing someone a book. Maybe it's not handing someone a form. Maybe it's picking up the phone
That's right.
and connecting the person to what they need, even if it's
That's
just
right.
temporary.
Yeah.
And that's really, I think we have to, as LIS students, we should be looking inward
Yes.
to the motivation.
Yes.
The superficial motivation is that I want to spend my career surrounded by old books.
Mm.
That's the superficial motivation of
Right.
librarians.
Right. Yeah.
We have to find a more personalized
Yeah.
motivation. Who
It's
are we
true.
trying to help? Who are we saving those old books for?
That's right. That's right.
Who is our user? Who is our patron?
That's right. And ending book apartheid, like
Oh,
literally, whether it's an acad, whether because I think sometimes people are like, oh, this is more so school librarian related or public library related. Well, no, it deals with, whether it's archives, whether it's museum work, whether it's, specialty libraries. Um,
let's talk
you,
about this because
yeah,
I credit you with coining the phrase that blew my mind. Book apartheid.
yeah, book apartheid.
Describe what is this? What is this?
Yeah, I mean, oftentimes we hear this idea of food deserts or book deserts. But in fact, deserts are literally something that is um, it is God made, right? Like this is something that already exists. But an apartheid is the intentional um, segregating and bigotry and racism. It's very intentional in making sure that individuals have less than. So when you have a intentional book apartheid, then you're saying that this particular community or these communities, they're not going to have resources to literacy or literary engagement, or bookstores, public libraries, um, schools that have robust libraries. Uh, you know, and so it's extremely intentional and it affects everything. And then you look at it and you realize that, let's say, for instance, Black Americans. Black Americans make up a little less than 16, 17% in the States, and yet we make up over 40% of those experiencing poverty in the US. And when you look just that number alone, um, that is not that's so not okay, but it's also so intentional too. And so those areas that are experiencing book apartheid also happen to be BIPOC, also happen to be experiencing poverty and houselessness. And so that it's all connected, and we can dismantle it and change it for sure. And in this course, you will learn how to do that.
Good segue. But book apartheid is the systemic, intentional restriction of access to information
Absolutely.
as a
Yes.
means of oppression
Yes.
in the United States, most commonly based on racial division,
That's it. That's it.
right?
Yeah,
It's
that's it.
I mean, the
Beautiful.
first time I heard you say that phrase, I popped my cork. I think it was at orientation, uh, this semester, and, like, I got off the WebEx and ran to my husband and said, "Book apartheid." He said, "What?" And I said, "We have to talk about this." Um, but that's exactly one of the challenges, and this is where the broader framework of librarianship and identifying who our patron is, that also opens up the discussion of identifying who's oppressing our patron, who's
Yeah,
antagonizing our patron,
absolutely.
who and not saying that your patron comes in and says, "My neighbor hates me." No, no, no. Your patron comes in and you say, "Oh, no, the state hates you."
Mm.
The government hates you, capital hates you. Like
Yeah.
that's what a broader range, and that's what a course like library services for the unhoused will start to peel back that
Mhm.
veil and and shine a light on the deeper, more profound reasons why we are in this field, why we
That's right.
pursue this degree, why we strap ourselves onto the mill and
That's
just
right.
get ground down for our patrons because we can take it. Because if
Yeah.
we know what our motivation is, if we are empowered to speak truth to power and understand that the communities we serve are the communities we're part of.
Mhm. Mhm.
And
Yes.
even if you commute an hour
Yeah.
into that community,
Yeah.
once you're in that seat, once you're at that service desk,
That's
you are
right.
in and of that community.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And we have to embody that, and we have to embrace our role in the community
Yeah.
as much as we embrace our patrons and hug
Yes.
our unhoused neighbors.
That's it. That's it. That's it. Peace and love. That's right.
That's
And
right.
empathy.
That's right. Peace and love, librarian. So I've been calling you a librarian activist, but I forgot that you self-identify as peace and love
No,
librarian.
no. I didn't even this is really what's funny. That's on my Gmail. When being naive, I still use AOL as my main account. And so I got Gmail and I put peace and love as the identifier for me. I didn't realize that other people saw that too until like 2 years ago. And someone said, "Hey, peace and love." I was like, "What? That's so funny." It's like, "Yeah, when you're," and I was like, "Really? You can see that?" So
Let me explain to you how email works. Um, but that's good. No, this is really important. And like I said at the beginning,
oh, I can't hear you, Michael. Oh, Michael, I think the sound went out.
you'll get to run it again and again. Thank you so much, Professor Stewart, for joining us today. This was informative, delightful, and engaging. I think it's LIS 275 library services for the unhoused running in summer of offered for summer of 2024. It will run. Uh, if you have any questions about the course or about your program, email me, uh, Michael Crossfox. I'm CRUZM at stjohns.edu, and we'll hear from Professor Stewart probably in the next few months about his course. Uh, Again, well, no, we're going to talk about it probably in the Directors Forum, which is the last DeLISA webinar for the spring semester. That's going to happen in April. Dr. Vorbach will talk more about the course offerings. But thank you so much. Good luck in all your work. How can we find you? Do you have a Instagram, a Twitter?
I am not really on social media like that, but I Christopher A. Stewart, the number 8 at gmail.com. Again, Christopher A. Stewart, Stewart, the number 8 at gmail.com. Please send me an email. I look forward to connecting with you, and I look forward to seeing you in the summer for this incredible course where we're going to dig in. We're going to love. Um, we're going to see how we can change the world together.
Great. Well, thank you again.
Thank you.